I'd like to call the January 22nd, 2025 Board of Selectmen's meeting to order at 6:30, and I would like everybody to know that our GoToMeeting app is down and will not be working tonight. Mr. Pinio, do we have any need for a non-public session?
We have two items, one under employment and one under acquisition of property.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move right into the agenda. The first item on the agenda, minutes, and it's the minutes of January 8th. Does anybody have any corrections? I do. I'd like to go to page 7. I got this right. And it says there that the weekends are prime, Friday 4 p.m. through Sunday, and my understanding is we approved prime time is Monday through Friday, 3 to 10 p.m., and all days Saturday and Sunday. So I would like attached to this set of minutes was the rate proposal provided to us by Park and Rec, so it's clear what we approved.
I have no objection to that.
Is that okay with everybody? Okay. And also, I would like attached from page 5, I would also like the counter petition attached to the minutes, so everybody knows what we have. But they may, I guess, no, maybe they're part of that was Miller's was, and was there? Yes, I guess the petition was, so, okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended? Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. So I have a motion by Brad, a second by Linda to accept the January 8th minutes as amended. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
But I won't approve the part I've been recused on.
Dave is going to abstain, and Paul, you're going to abstain from the section you weren't. Yep. Okay, section he stepped down from. Okay. We'll go to the next set of minutes, which are the 13th of January. Does anybody have any corrections, changes? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move to approve January 13, 2025 minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Paul, second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next set of minutes is January 15th. This was our bond hearings. Can I have a motion?
Move we approve the minutes of January 15th.
Okay, and I'll second. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
I
Opposed?
recused myself from the portion that I was recused during.
Okay, Paul is not voting on his step-down section. Okay. And Brad will do the same, and that was on the other set of minutes too? Yes. Okay, I'll make sure that. All righty, we're going to head on to our public hearings, and I'll read the notice on the first one. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. to consider a temporary event permit application for the Friends of the Community Bandstand to host concerts in Kate Park and community bandstands on Saturday evenings from July 5th through August 30th, 2025 from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., permit 2025-07. And I'll open up the public hearing.
Hello, my name is Michael Chatney. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Wolfeboro Community Bandstand. We've requested a permit for outdoor events providing free concerts on Saturday evenings from 7 to 9 p.m. starting on July 5th, 2025, through August 30th of 2025. We would also request access to the bandstand at 5 p.m. on each of those Saturday evenings. We have a current liability insurance policy on file with the town manager's office, and we would be look forward to submitting our renewal of our insurance policy, which will become due in June prior to the start of our 2025 concert season.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this temporary outdoor event permit? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, any
for what you're
comments or
doing.
questions?
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for your support.
Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary event permit application for the Friends of Community Bandstand to host concerts at Cape Park Community Bandstand on Saturday evenings from July 5th, 2020.
You're going to be loud, Brad.
I guess. Yes, so I'll make a motion to approve the temporary event permit application for Friends of Community Bandstand to host concerts in Kate Park and Community Bandstand on Saturday evenings from July 5th, 2025 through August 30th, 2025 from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Permit number 2025-07.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, a second by Dave. Any further discussion? Paul?
Yeah, just conditioned on, you'll give Amy the insurance certificate in June. You okay with that, Brad?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you for your consideration.
You're welcome. Next, I'll open the next public hearing. It is the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. to consider a temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host sunrise service on Easter on April 20th, 2025, from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Albee Beach, Weather Plan Mass Landing Dock, permit 2025-08.
Hi. Thank you. Mike Turner, a member of the First Congregational Church, with requesting the use of a temporary permit to use Albee Beach on April the 20th, Easter Sunday, for a sunrise service that should last about an hour. The last couple of years, Albee Beach has been in such a mess. We've really not been able to hold it there. We've had made a second request to have it at Mass Landing, which we have had. So I just thought I'd add both of them together in one request. Certainly our liability has been filed with the town office. So I would appreciate your approval of this.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to make comments about this temporary outdoor event permit? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro, host sunrise service on Easter, April 20th, 2025, 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. at the Albee Beach. Weather Plan Mass Landing Dock, permit number 2025-08.
Second.
I have a motion by Dave, a second by Brad. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. We'll move on to the next one. I'll open up the next public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at 6:30 PM to consider a temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host the Blessings of the Boats on June 1, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., I think it's probably p.m., and at the Town Docks Permit 2025-08.
Yes, thank you. Again, there's an error in my application. I put down June the 1st. Actually, it should be May the 31st, which is a Saturday. So I can resubmit that if you like, or I
No,
don't know.
let's just change the date.
Yeah, so
It does says May 31st.
May 31st instead of June the 1st, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah, we'll just cross out June and do May 31st. Board members, are you comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to give me any public input on this temporary outdoor event permit, which is going to be on May 31st? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, any comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve a temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church of Wolfeboro to host the Blessings of the Boats on May 31st, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Town Docks, permit number 2025-09.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, a second by Paul. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. I'll open up the public hearing. The Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at 6:30 p.m. to consider a temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church to hold worship services at Cape Park on Sundays from June 1st, 2025 to October 5th, 2025, from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30, and I'm assuming that's a.m. again?
Yes, ma'am.
a.m. at Cape Park and Community Bandstand.
Okay, so, yeah, I would appreciate, this is something that we've done annually for the last several years, and we would like to have permission to hold these services. We have a lot of visitors that come to town, tourists that join the services. We usually have anywhere from 35 to 40 people at the service, so I would appreciate your consideration for us using town property at Cape Park. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to give us any input on this temporary outdoor event permit? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion for a temporary event permit application for the First Congregational Church to host worship service at Cape Park on Sundays from June 1st, 2025 to October 5th, 2025, from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. at Cape Park and Community Bandstand, permit number 2025-10.
Second?
I have a motion by Dave, a second by Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You have your permits.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. I have one more public hearing here. I'd like to open up the public hearing. It's the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at approximately 6:30 p.m. in the Great Hall of the Wolfeboro Town Hall for the acceptance of unanticipated funds for an amount award that is over $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B relative to the donation of furniture valued at $10,400 provided for the fire department at the Public Safety Building from Green Mountain. Furniture and it was posted on at the town hall and in the Granite State News.
Thank you. Nate Nichols, Deputy Fire Chief. I got a hold of Tony Kendall, who along with his family owns and operates Green Mountain Furniture. Tony lives in Wolfeboro. This was about a year and a half ago, and asked if they would be interested in donating some furniture to the new public safety building. Didn't have a lot of expectations. We went back and forth, emailed. As phase 2 came to take shape, we went and looked at the space. We talked about what we needed, and he got back to me that night with more than I anticipated, and I was super thankful for him and his family for making the donation to the public safety building and to the fire department. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment or give public input to this public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board members, do you have any questions or concerns to ask the Deputy Chief? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the unanticipated funds for an amount donated that is over $10,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95B relative to a donation of furniture to the Wolfeboro Fire Rescue Department valued in the amount of $10,400 from Green Mountain Furniture for use at the public safety building.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Dave, a second by Paul. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Linda, maybe I'll just read off very quickly what
Okay.
they're donating. I think the
Sure,
public would be interested to
absolutely.
hear
Yep,
how
sounds
generous Green Mountain Furniture is. They're donating a dining table. They're donating 6 chairs to go around the table, a coffee table, a round-end table, an 86-inch sofa, 4 36-inch Chase Wall Saver chairs, and then also including that 3 or more living room pieces for the fabric treatment on that and stuff, totaling $10,400. So I just wanted to let everybody know how generous that Green Mountain is being for this. So thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you for doing that. So is there any other comment? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All righty. We'll move on. Next item is the bulk vote. The weekly manifest for January 10th, 2025 was $2,200,538.72, and that included a payment to the school district. On January 17th, there was a payment of $5,315.39, and we have an intent to cut. Does anyone have any questions and concerns? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the bulk vote items A and B.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Brad, second by Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the December actuals versus budget, and we should have our finance director here.
Good evening.
Just state your name so everybody.
Oh, sorry. Samantha Kelly, Finance Director. Here to review the December 2024 actual versus budget report. Just to make note, these numbers are preliminary as we are still working on year-end journal entries to close out the year. Being December, this report represents 12 months or 100% of the budget year. The general fund was 98% expended. On the revenue side of things, we had collected 112% of the revenue we were expecting. Water fund, I mistakenly included on the report that you have.
Yep.
It's at 101%, but that is the total expenses for the fund, which include the multi-year projects. Just the operating budget piece is at 96%.
Okay, thank you.
The revenues, including any grants related to the water fund, we're at 218%. All revenues that exclude grants was at 96% collected. The municipal electric fund was at 99% on the expense side and 91% on the revenue side. The sewer fund, again, the 98% that you see there includes the multi-year projects that are related to the sewer fund. If you exclude those, it was at 96% expended. On the revenue side, 99%. Again, excluding any grant revenues was at 94%. The Whalen fund was at 108% of expenditures, and on the revenue side of things was at 86%. Also provided to you was a copy of the donation reconciliation, the capital reserve fund planning document, and the gas and diesel allocation cost report. The last few weeks, the finance office has been busy working on year-end process, entering necessary journal entries. We've also been working on completing the 2024 tax forms for both payroll with the W-2s as well as the AP vendors with the 1099s. Also been working on getting the reports entered into the New Hampshire DRA portal regarding the 2025 proposed budget and warrant articles. And we also had our preliminary audit this past Friday, the 17th. So far, everything went well. The auditors will be back the week of April 21st to conduct their regular audit for 2024. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
I asked Sam a number of questions on the donation account, and one was on the Friends of Pop Whalen, another one was Single Track Alliance, and one of them was on the milfoil, and she responded to me, and they all made sense, and thank you for doing that.
Hi, you're welcome.
Does any other board members have any issues? Paul?
Just a question, thank you, Sam. Just a question on MED, 91%, is there billing, is it just noise?
It's billing. I'm assuming the receivables haven't been set up for 24. It's part of the year end. So if there's outstanding bills, they're not reflected in these numbers.
Okay, I got it. So the likelihood is that number gets back to 99.
I don't know about 99, but I'm sure it's
We'll get close. All right,
higher,
good.
yeah.
Thank you. And we're going to talk about Pop Whalen as a separate discussion?
I believe so, yes.
It's the
Okay.
next one coming
Yep,
up
okay,
on the
good.
agenda. Board members, any other questions? Thank you very much, Sam. Okay, next item on the agenda is the December Pop Whalen report. Jim, who's going to do that?
Yeah, so Christine will come up and speak to this.
Okay.
Just wanted to quickly go over a couple of items with you in advance. One of the things that I think is really challenging is when you look at the Munismart report, which Sam just presented to you, and then you compare it to the Pop Whalen report, it doesn't align very well and creates some challenges. I was able to go through a bunch of numbers yesterday. I was able to sit down with Sam and Christine today, and we were able to get this account within about $1,700 between the Munismart reporting and the Parks and Rec Desk software. Part of the issue is when Parks and Rec sends out the bills for ice time, that doesn't get captured in Munismart until the revenues actually come in. The good news here is we have closed the gap significantly from where we were a year ago. We have slightly overexpended the budget, but when we close out the year, we're looking about $56,000 short of breaking even, which is significantly closer than where we were a year ago. A year ago, we were about $120,000 in the hole. So kudos to Christine and Brian for getting this closer. And with that said, I'll hand it over to Christine to speak on her report.
Thank you, Christine Collins, Parks and Rec Director. So for the month of December, there were 167 hours of ice used, which brings our total to 837 hours of ice. That is only counting rented ice to outside users, so it's not counting public and stick. And that includes schools and any private rentals. Stick and public skate, we collected $44,741 in that, and that includes skate rentals, public skating, and stick practice. And then advertising, we collected $32,325. You also got a new report today. Did you get that report?
I did,
So
yeah.
that was just showing you, because in this one, the other report, I was just showing you ice utilization, and it wasn't capturing what was uncollected. Our concessions, we actually had a goal of 6,000, and we're at 9,000, so that was pretty good considering. Spring and summer programs, you'll see some discrepancy in the numbers because I had to recategorize. It looked like the Level Up Pickleball got put into the winter revenues versus the spring and summer, so we're just trying to have it for clarity and pull that out. And I think that's about it. So we're having a smooth January already. Brian's been working really hard at renting ice. He had a promotional thing where private users could rent some ice, so he did sell a few gift certificates for that. So we've been really working hard at trying to utilize our ice as much as possible. And I think one of the programs he started offering, which is on Monday nights, what is that called? Adult Learn to Play Hockey, so.
Great.
Yeah.
It's just great. Anybody who'd like to
Sign up.
learn, yeah, right here, we are
Sounds
waiting
like an
to.
opportunity to break a leg.
Yeah. Thank you for getting your report and the Muni Smart and Rec Desk, because I was one who's saying,
Yeah.
I can't get from one to the other, and what I couldn't get is what you had billed and hadn't come in,
Right.
which made the gap, so.
Right, and
thank you.
moving into January, we'll do the profit, revenues, expenses, so you'll see it simultaneously, so you have it together.
Okay.
All right?
Any other board members have any questions or
Make a
concerns?
comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
So congratulations. So Jim was real close last year. The audited, this is for the public, the audited financials on the Pop Whalen showed an operating deficit of $117,541. That's what came out of the audit. And what you reported now is unaudited, obviously, because it hasn't gone through the scrutiny of our audit, but you're reporting a $56,000 operating loss. That's a pickup of $61,000. And I'm not suggesting it's not true. The auditor will always find something. But that's a $61,000 improvement over year. Keep it up. And I think the opportunity to sell more off-season, if ice time is season, off-season time is, I think, where you had some unidentified, you were plugging revenues in there. That's where you really just keep it up. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Brian for all his new ideas.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the request to expend capital reserve funds. Abenaki, come on back up.
So this was actually on the capital reserve that we were going to be purchasing a rope this year. We were going to wait till after the season. We've had a little glitch, so we're just trying to be proactive. The rope is still secure right now, but if anything was to happen, we would be in trouble. So we'd like to purchase the rope now to have it ready in case we have a glitch.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me. Board members, anybody have any questions or concerns?
No objection.
I was over there this weekend, and the place is packed,
It is.
and I was watching, and there were 20 new cross-country skiers who are at a class. I mean, it's just, people should go over there and enjoy that area. It's
Good
just,
people watching place.
yes, it is. Other board members, anybody have any questions, concerns for Christine? If not, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to make an emergency purchase of a new rope tow for the Abenaki ski area and to remove those funds out of the capital reserve fund.
Second.
All right, I got a motion by Paul, second by Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Good job.
Next item on the agenda is a request to spend capital reserve funds, and it says community center.
Good evening. I'll just do a quick introduction. Amy Capone Muccio I'm the town manager's executive assistant, but Christine Collins and Kathy Barnard and I are the last women standing from an original committee of folks who keep retiring. So this project started back with Dave Owen, switched to David Ford, and now leaves us ladies to take over. So the selectmen were presented with a memo from December 13th with a brief refresher that this is about the community center project that would combine the lot known as 32 Laner Street, a community center formerly the firehouse and the MED former power plant. We went to CIP this past summer and to present the requests of, I'll give a little history actually. So in 2020, we started out with the Girl Scouts who gave a little push to this project to get $50,000 to do a feasibility study on just the MED building. And that was done by Bergeron Technical Services in 2022. From that report, they determined that to be a stable facility that we should keep and maintain. So the MED Enterprise Fund spent $41,820 on repairs to leaks and other things to secure that facility. During that time, the charrette was also going on, the planned New Hampshire charrette here in town, focusing on the downtown area. So a subcommittee was also created to review that charrette and discuss how that area looks as a community center and connecting everything in a whole together. From all those discussions, it was determined that we should probably look into discussing the hazardous materials on both sites, considering what both locations in their former use were. So Ty and Bond provided us with a hazardous building materials assessment. The cost of that was $34,700, split between the Municipal Electric Department Enterprise Fund and the Capital Reserve Fund for the Firehouse Community Center. That report was received in September of 2023. And then we fast forward to August of 2024 when we went to the Capital Improvements Committee. And as you can see from these studies, we are kind of at a standstill and are at the point where we need to have a real construction cost. We just have a placeholder on the capital improvements program. So we would like to get a construction cost, which the group here from Ty and Bond, Halverson, and Winter Holden will help us out with that. We would like to request $75,000 to do that from the current Firehouse Capital Reserve Fund. We feel that this will also help. I'm also wear another hat. I'm the president of the Wolfeboro Senior Club, and some of them are here tonight. And they also, they have an active interest in this. They currently use the community center regularly, and a cost could help us, not only for the town and for the placeholder, but we would be able to explore grant funding and private funding and other resources that could help us bring this project to the next stages. So with that, I will sit down and let them come on up and do their presentation.
Thank you, Select Board members, for your time. We're just going to run through a summary of kind of the site context, the various areas that we're going to study in addition to the building and the two buildings, and then just talk a little bit about the process going forward so you're familiar with that. Right, just to give you a little bit of intro as to who's here in front of you. So for the record, so my name is Bob Eulig. I lead a landscape architecture studio within Ty and Bond, and with me is my colleague Lauren Butts, who is also a landscape architect. And then I'm going to introduce Brendan, Brendan and Alyssa are the architecture side of the team. So, yep, sorry about that.
Yeah, Brandon Holben, principal architect, and Elisa Winter-Holben is principal as well. And we do the architecture, interiors, placemaking, design efforts.
So this is kind of a tag team effort because it involves both site and it involves building. So just going to give you an overview. In terms of the site area that we're talking about, sorry that's a little washed out, but we're not just looking at the two sites of the two buildings, but in our conversations with Amy and Christine, it became clear that there was a desire at the same time to see how this project and the opportunities for these two buildings to be reused and the site to be reused for how we could create better connections within the community, from the building to many of the different facilities. And so, thank you. That's perfect. It's a little bit more vibrant now. So, so the project overall site extends from the water's edge on the upper left, includes the parking lots, includes the playing field in the upper left, and the multi-use path along the water's edge. And then those sports fields, not that we're going to change them, but we're trying to take those into consideration, the playground area, and then the parking lot that's adjacent to the rec pavilion on the bottom right-hand side. And much of this thinking is, how do we think about, because right now the area where the what was the formerly electric building and where the current community center are, they're only connected to Lerner Street. And so our thinking is, how can we, as we start to look at this, how can we make better connections from this senior center, community center, to all those different facilities directly, from the building in that direction, whereas right now there's no connection in that area. And then again, just you all are familiar with this, but just a little bit of an existing conditions, what the perimeter of the site looks like from the recreation pavilion in slide number 5, some of the play area at number 6, connections from the adjacent open space to the parking lot number 4, adjacencies where the substation is in number 3. So again, trying to improve those connections both to there and to downtown. As well, I don't know if you can see there's like a little orange box now that's dashed line that highlights, while we focus on this bigger overall site area, we're also going to focus more in detail about the site that's around the former municipal electric department building and then the existing community center building. And likewise, when we look at that closer up of that site, there's really some great opportunities with the architecture and the structure of the former electrical building and the adjacencies on that site to make those connections. So again, pictures in the lower left relative to the site in the upper right. And I don't know, Brendan, do you want to make any comments just about the nature of that existing structure?
Sure. Yeah, so the electric building, sure, yeah.
Or you can just take the mic out and hold it.
Just take it right out. How's that? Is that good?
Yep.
Hearing it good? All right, yeah, so the existing building, that was a 1937 era building, very simple mass, but there is some nice, it's kind of a late Art Deco detailing in there, just with the subtle shifts in the windows and the corners and some of the brick patterning that is interesting and creates a kind of nice pattern along the streetscape. And obviously the rear of the building, you can see there's some disrepair in that last section, so we think there's an opportunity there to kind of do some work and add some mass on the back of the building, which would give you some more program space, and with an overhaul of the interior of the front part of the building. And you can see here, this is the front part. And there's some good bones in there for sure. There were some hazmat materials that were identified in that due diligence study. So there's some of the paint and the window caulking and kind of some of the typical stuff, but light remediation effort really to get this down to a usable space to start with. But we think there's a lot of opportunity with this to work well for senior center, as well as, adding on some flex program space in the back for the community center as well. Again, yeah, you can see, so that, that senior center from the front, you can create some really nice accessible access into the building from the street, kind of nice pedestrian connections. Maybe there's some piece that bumps out and creates a nice new entry to access the space and kind of greet you from the street. Nice parking area on the right. The old fire station, I think through the due diligence, there was a lot of material in that building and some disrepair that was, it seemed like it was deemed to be removed by the end of that study, but that's, oh, you can't hear?
Why don't you
Okay.
just take it and put it in your hand and get it right up to you?
All right, so you can see the parking area on the right is kind of over the old fire station building. That was the due diligence study that was performed, found there was, I think, maybe 100 different types of hazardous materials identified in that building, along with other issues that seemed like it was deemed to be taken down. That was the best use of it, and to make way for some additional parking space, and then utilize the better infrastructure to focus on for the new project. You can see.
And so this diagram shows in our initial conversations with Amy and Christine, we haven't gotten into it formally yet, but some of the concept was this idea that the senior center maybe have its presence on Lerner Street. So it has a presence where you see the existing building now, where it's directly accessible, it's at the same level as Lerner Street, and the senior center occupies much of that existing building. But there's also this opportunity that we have yet to get into, that the community center then would have its face facing the fields and potentially having an entry on that other side. So again, those are things we're gonna get into as we start to study it, but those were the initial opportunities that in our discussions with them, they thought had some merit. And then there's a bit of grade change. As you may know, that the Lerner Street side of the building is up at kind of one level, and then when you go to the back of the building, it's essentially at the basement level there. So there's going to be some interesting things to deal with in terms of how we try to get accessible routes between Lerner Street and kind of that parking lot level around the building. And then there's some other adjacencies between the dentist's office and the community center building that we don't know exactly what those are, what those opportunities are yet. They're kind of underutilized, left over from where there was a kind of a gravel road between those sites, but they also provide opportunities for potential outdoor programming adjacent to that we will hopefully get into when we start studying the project a little bit further. And so I think, this was a long-winded way of saying we acknowledged, the plan that Amy had mentioned that was done by the community. A lot of work's been done to date, so we're really fortunate to kind of get on board after there's been a lot of background associated with studying the site, studying the building, and Plan New Hampshire's work to date, highlighted in the idea of how to preserve and enhance the area, how to beautify Lerner Street to make an improved streetscape, how to link to the downtown, how to improve recreational and social opportunities for all ages, seniors, youth, and all people of all ages. And then concepts that reimagine this space. So we're really looking forward to the opportunity to work with the town on helping to realize that vision. So then we wanted to just show you, who are you people? What business do you have studying a community center? So we wanted to show you, we've worked on a couple of other projects that are very similar to this. We worked on a project here that is a Kittery Community Center in Kittery, Maine, where we helped reprogram and come up with a master plan for the site adjacencies, both pedestrian use. There was no activities outside this community center, and the vehicular and pedestrian circulations were kind of haphazard because the site had grown through time. So we worked with them on a master plan that developed both active and passive recreation, as well as improved vehicular circulation around the site. And that master plan had an opinion of probable cost, or a cost estimate associated with it, from which Kittery has just allocated funding to do first phase improvements on that. And then smaller scale project in my hometown of Newburyport, Mass. We did a recreational study of reorganizing some ball fields and a kind of a concession stand area associated with that. They've done some small first phase implementations along the main street, which made, improve safety and enhance the streetscape. And then we also worked with Appalachian Mountain Club on a project in New York State to do, again, a master plan that helped improve circulation and kind of arrival sequences so that when you come to the site, much like at a community center, you're going to want to be able to see where you are, see where the entrance is, and the opportunities in front of you. So from a landscape architecture's perspective, that's a little bit of our background. Then I'm going to pass it over to Brendan to talk about their background in architecture.
So this is a project in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, 3S Art Space. Kind of just highlighting this one. It's a good multidisciplinary project that we did. That was sort of a nonprofit contemporary art gallery, performance space, and then had a culinary aspect to it as well, kind of food as art. And it was just sort of, it was an adaptive reuse of an old masonry building that had no windows. It was an old factory building in the north end of Portsmouth. And it was really just, we had to go through historic district approvals. We had to spend a lot of time with, early fundraising efforts with stakeholders, kind of generating imagery, data, just to kind of help gain support for the project and really kind of get everyone on board and raise all the money to kick off the project. But it's been a great success. They're just past their 10-year mark and they're doing well and continuing on. But and that was an AIA New Hampshire Award winner as well. And this was another one, again, kind of early phase, similar. We did a vision concept planning package for the board of directors at the Albacore Park Museum. And this is they really wanted something a building that would really showcase the submarine, and the shape of the Albacore is something that was very important at the time. It was like this groundbreaking hull design, as well as the propeller design. So they really wanted a building that, the current one is very small and kind of sits behind, out of the way. And they really wanted something that showed off the submarine. So this was again, working with the board of directors, adapting the concept they had to meet the fundraising efforts. And then as well as kind of working with engineering group to create a design package that could be budgeted and pushed forward in the fundraising effort. It's in Portsmouth as well, if you don't know where the Albacore is. And this is Seco Science Center. So this was, I don't know if you haven't been there in a while, this was a project they completed. It was a design build effort with the museum, nonprofit. And they had some of the exhibit owner was kind of managed the construction of it, so we were very hands-on, working, adapting the design to work with this very complex set of aquarium tanks, and a lot of the graphic elements and kind of storytelling of the museum was kind of integrated. So there was a whole interior design and graphic design piece that was sort of integrated to really kind of create this unique museum experience for guests. Visitors.
Want me to cover that? Okay. So just in terms of the summary of our process that we've laid out to the town in our proposal. So we start with what we'll call kind of a hopes and dreams, meet with the town and really get a deep download on the aspirations, the goals and aspirations for the project in terms of the program. I know we didn't mention it today, but I know that there's aspirations for a commercial kitchen too within that space. And so, it's going to be kind of coming up with all the programmatic components and figuring out how they fit in the box or don't fit within the box and what those square footages all look like. And then start to, after we meet, and have those downloads, then we go back and come up with conceptual design alternatives, and then come and meet with the group and review those alternatives at the same time as we're doing, as Winter Holben's doing architectural concepts. We're going to be working hand in hand with them on some site concepts. So how does this new or modified building fit into the site? Where's the parking? You know, what are other amenities that are around the outside of the building? So we're going to be doing that. And then it's an iterative process where start with alternatives, come to the town, and then the town provides feedback about what they like, what they don't like, and then we head towards a refined design direction. And then from that refined design direction, we provide graphics and renderings that are easily understood and then hope to be used for town fundraising so that the general public and other people who are interested in the project can clearly understand what the vision looks like. And as you mentioned, then provide some costs that go along with that so you can project out as to what the cost associated with the project would be. So I think that kind of, it covers the general synopsis of what we're hoping to be up to with you all.
Okay, thank you very much. Board members, do you have any questions that you would like to ask them on this? Comments? My one comment is it looks like it correlates to what we talked about in the charrette, kind of tying things together. So the two pieces seem to fit with each other. Board members? Anybody else?
Just point of information, please.
Yep.
Where did, because I don't know the answer to this, where did the project fit in CIP? What year?
2027 is where they put it for construction. And they put,
construction.
yes, and they put a placeholder in. This year, we were going to have on the warrant, a warrant asking to use money from some different trusts, and we as a board voted not to move forward with it, that we had more than enough on our plate at that time. So that warrant article did not go forward. I have one concern, and I love the project. I'm not sure we can take the money out of the Firehouse Community Center Capital Reserve account. And that reads, to see whether the town will vote to establish a capital reserve fund under provision RSA 35:1 for the purpose including of any of the following actions related to the Firehouse Community Center facility. And it ties it to that one facility, and that is where I'm having the problem. The acquisition of property, architect and engineering fees, rehabilitation of the property, construction and reconstruction of the property, and to raise an appropriate, and then there's a certain sum. This is not just the community center. In fact, most of it is not going to happen on the community center, but on the electric building and the areas around. And I had asked Jim, and he hasn't had time to get an opinion on whether we can use it or not. So I don't know where the other board members are. I do not think this project fits that definition. That's my problem.
So just, if I could, Lynn?
Yep.
Okay, so if the timeline that is tentatively planned, and I'm going to use an unflattering term, the shovel goes in the ground 2027, that's a 2026 warrant. And in order to get to a 2026...
No, it was a 2027 warrant. It was
So
it was a construction because the CIP is appropriating the funds.
Okay, so it's a 2027 warrant.
Yes.
All right, so that actually makes the question worse. Are we comfortable that pricing this out at this time is going to ensure that we're going to have a solid number, or are we going to have plus or minus? I don't want to call it scope creep because we didn't do anything to creep. Are we going to have escalators in there? I'm getting a nod here. You price it out, and then all of a sudden you say, well, those numbers just went up 15 or 20%. Is it worth our while to do that now? I'd like to just, I don't know the answer to that. I asked that.
If I may,
No one's
I
running.
would just add
No one's running to
that it would be at that kind of conceptual and schematic such
Yeah.
that we would have probably larger contingencies in there because at an earlier on level, there's more unknowns. It's not like we're going to have every detail figured out. We're probably going to have a fairly good sense of the massing of the building in order to fit the program. And then based upon that, we're probably going to allocate square foot costs based upon, prior experience on that. And
By
so-
that conceptual design, we will not have bid documents or anything.
Right.
We're talking about a conceptual design and a square foot estimate with some contingencies, and that we could do some inflation numbers on it. That's what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other board members have any comments?
It would have been nice if there had been a warrant article this year to potentially reappropriate the funds that we have in the capital reserve for a purpose like this. And the only other question I have is, how much is in that capital reserve fund?
75,300 plus.
Yeah, I knew it was right about,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yes, if we had put it all together, we could have asked to have that capital reserve fund renamed and expanded. You're absolutely right. I didn't know until it came on the agenda that this is what we were asking for. And when I saw the presentation and I read the thing, and then I read the capital reserve account, I right away said, does it fit? And we don't have it.
I agree with Paul, too, that every good estimate, when it becomes 2 years old,
Gets bigger.
has to be redone. So if we were to get an estimate now, what would be the cost to update our estimate? Because we go to get estimates all the time, and we spend $75,000, and then all of a sudden they want $37,500 to redo the estimate, and it's like, wow, we're putting money on top of money on top of money.
Yeah, no, I think it's the data that's created and the information can be repriced with a pretty minimal effort. Even getting an interested construction manager out that would price it out in that. Yeah. When you're closer to construction too, you have more people that are more interested in helping get a more detailed price from a limited set of.
And before we go
documents.
out, we usually like bid documents.
Right.
And construction documents so that we can get a price. And sometimes we even go out and get a bid before we put a warrant article together.
But if it's,
So
if it sits
there
for a
would be
year,
another part of this would be the money for the construction
to
document.
complete the design, correct, yeah. With the more engineering and all that.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, board members, it seems like, and I would like, I don't want to vote yes or no on it tonight, but I would like to table it and get an opinion from town attorney
Absolutely.
on it. I mean, I support us moving forward with the project. I think it fits in with what the Surratt did. I just don't think we have it in this warrant article. If it's not, then one of the things we put on to the following year's warrant is the rewording of this so it could be used in the
I wish we had known about it a month ago. We could have crafted a warrant article to make it clear that these funds were easily used for this.
Stuff happens.
Okay.
Move to table the request to extract $75,000 from the capital reserve fund until such time as we get an estimate from council as to whether the capital reserve fund can be accessed for the purpose of this project as identified tonight, whatever this day is. Is that okay? You okay with that?
That sounds good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Now, do I have any further discussion?
Not relating to this.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for bringing us the presentation. It looks great. Now we've got to figure out where we get the money from.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is not a public hearing. I can ask my board whether they want to take public input. If they do, we will. Board members, do you want to take public input?
No objection.
Everybody okay?
They came out, yeah.
Sure, come on up. Make sure you state your name for the record. Just
For a tall person.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Hi, my name is Carol McMahon. I've lived in Wolfeboro for 20 years. I'm 75 years old and we've been really using this community center. And Wolfeboro seems to find the money to do new docks and new bathrooms and ice rinks and ski things. But there's a large percentage of people in this town that are seniors, and we pay taxes. We pay property taxes. I don't have a boat, I don't ice skate, I don't ski, and so I think it's neglected. I mean, the town of Alton has a nice, modern community center, and I looked it up, their population is about the same as ours. But we have more seniors in this town. So I think we need to find a way to allow the seniors to take advantage of this wonderful community that we can't otherwise. So that's why we came to support this, this project. I heard that we tried to get money for this last year and it wasn't in the budget because the budget was already blown. So I really think, please consider how you can make this work for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Anybody else who would like to get up and give us input on this subject? Thank you for coming. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Judith Morrison, and I've lived in Wolfeboro for the last 10 years, but I grew up in the area and went to Kingswood when it first opened, so I'm not exactly a newcomer. I am going on 77. I have a list of medical problems that would blow you away. And I'd like to say that I would like to see a senior center like Alton has or like Sandwich has, rather than the facility that we use now, one that reflects the level that Wolfeboro represents in a positive way. And I would like to have it available to me before I don't exist anymore. So a lot of us are on the older spectrum and know that life can be very short, and surprisingly so. So we don't feel very patient about waiting because we don't have the time. And we would hope you would take that into consideration in terms of the urgency of figuring this out with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure.
Jody Person. Yeah, I'm not against this project, but I do want to just say that I would, I'm going to watch this whole thing and how it unfolds. I mean, I think you definitely need stuff for the community, there's no doubt. And this project is for the community, but I just want to let it be known that, hopefully you guys can put your heads together and you can really do a real good job with this one. And, if something comes up like the Friends of organization or anything, or I really think they should have to have the money up front and be able to prove it before it gets worked into being part of a warrant article or a campaign. I'm not against the Friends of organizations. It's just I think they really got to either donate towards the project. I really don't want to see this project be a what do you call it? A public and private,
Partnership.
Partnership. I'm sorry.
No problem.
But, that's all I'm getting at. I mean, this is the kind of things you really need to do in a community. So I just wanted to say, let's go for it.
Thanks, Jody.
Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Brothers, and I graduated from Kingswood High School. I have been around for quite a few years. We don't have a senior center. We have a lovely little building that we use as often as we can, and we're allowed to use this facility for our luncheons, which is great. The demographics, as Judith and Mr. Ullman have said, it's a pretty elderly group. We really do need something that's accessible. Lerner Street is great. Parking is not so great. It's a little hard to parallel park when you get a little older because you can't move your neck quite as easily as you used to be able to. Is there any other possibility in town that the seniors could use on maybe a limited basis? I was looking at the Kingswood Youth Center. I don't think they use that all week long. I think it's more of a vacation week use and probably a whole summer use. Until something can be arranged budget-wise, is there another location or facility that we could use on a part-time basis that might have a little better parking for senior citizens? I know Ossipee has a senior citizen center. They also use it for daycare and a few other things. And their community is way poorer than ours. So just kind of in the back of your mind, if you can think of something else that we could possibly use in the meantime until this is straightened out. I know it's going to be a lot of money. I understand that looking 2 or 3 years down the line, we don't know what costs are going to be. They're probably going to be astronomical, maybe even 15, 20, 25% more than what we're looking at today. That's a realistic look at what's coming up the road. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to give us any comment? Thank you all for coming. We appreciate seeing you, even though you don't want to get up and say something, but we see that you support this project, and thank you for taking the time tonight to come. All right. I would like to add to the agenda right now, if the board agrees, to go back to the Route 28 warrant article. We have 2 things that I think we need to do. One, Brian pointed out, and I agree with him, that we need to change a word, and the other is we need to move it to the warrant. So let me pass this out. And this is the same warrant article. I'll start with the one at Pickering Corner. And if you go down to option 2, I changed mini build to minimum build. And the reason I did that was because that is what is on all the slides that New Hampshire DOT presents to the community. So
No objection.
I would like to make a motion to change the wording on Pickering Corner and on the McManus Road from mini build to minimum build.
Second.
Brian?
Okay, I made the motion. Did I hear you, Brian? Made the second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that changes. When we went back and checked, we agreed to the wording of the warrant article, but I need a motion to move it to the warrant. Can I have that motion?
Make a motion to move it to the warrant.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Brian, second by Paul. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that takes us to there. The next item on the agenda is petition warrant articles.
Town report.
No, town report's after petition warrant
Sorry.
articles.
Sorry.
And this is if the board agrees, that I would like to have it is the petitioner, if they'd like to come up and talk about their warrant article, they can read their warrant article and give us any comments on why they put that warrant on asked to have it on the warrant. So I need agreement of the board that we are willing to do that.
No objection.
I'm good.
Nobody has an objection? Okay. So, I'm going to start, and the first one is going to be from Roberta Budman. And do you want to get up? It says Roberta. I got to read one.
Pretty formal.
Yeah, that's what they said on the piece of paper, so there you go.
So official.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to read through the articles? Everybody has. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we all understand what swept funds are. Because I want to speak to the board. I don't want to speak to the citizens right now. Okay. So we're all clear on swept funds. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if everybody read through already, do we need to read it, or are we good?
I'm giving you the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. If you want it read, then the public hears it. This is whatever you want to do.
Okay, might as well do that. This is a petition warrant article. This petition warrant article came about because as of right now, and I know I wanted to talk to you, not the public right now, but we generate our education funds for our state directly off of our property taxes. So the state really isn't funding our Wolfeboro children going to school. There's this formula called adequate education that the state comes up with. We pay a tax burden on it from our local property taxes. We pay more than the 536 students or whatever that are using it, and the rest of the money just is supposed to go into an account waiting. How you deal with that on your end, that's probably something that maybe will come out during this warrant article. However, as we move forward with education, we're stepping away from just funding public education, and we're starting to fund private education. And we're starting to fund homeschoolers. I'm an ex-homeschooler mom. So this, in any way, this warrant article is not against private schools. It's not against homeschooling. It's simply a matter that as of right now, we have education funds that are going to private schools and to private families, and we have no way to audit those funds through our state laws, through our state RSA 91A laws. And as we move forward with growing our school voucher program, our education freedom accounts, we're about to open it up to be universal accounts. There are 2 bills in the State House right now that sadly our representative, one of them is on. One is to do universal school vouchers. That was heard actually last week. That was House Bill number 115. Mr. Glenn Cordelli is on that to open that up. When you look at the funding, what that's going to cause, it's going to cause about an extra $112 million to our education fund. But we're just going to look at it. I just sort of want to walk you through what that looks like for Wolfeboro, just for Wolfeboro, not the state overall. On March 6th, Mr. O'Brien, you were not on the board at the time. Mr. Deshays was here. Luke Freudenberg at the time did not come. He wasn't here. Mr. Deshays didn't comment. But on March 6th, Glenn Cordelli, Katie Peternell, and John McDonald, all of our representatives, came before you to talk about swept funds and to talk about excess swept funds going to the state. At that time, all 3 of you had represented, I have the meeting minutes here, that you were concerned about our money that exceeded what was for our students would be going to the state to potentially fund other public schools. Probably a concern that most citizens have, that having our taxes raised to fund schools beyond our children does put an extra tax burden on all of us. At the time, you had stated we were part of a coalition of cities, of donor towns, and Wolfeboro's on there, and it was our select board, according to the coalition that joined, our select board joined this coalition against being a donor town. Mm-hmm. Part of that mission is that the coalition opposes this failed approach to education funding because property taxes are already too high and would be increased further. Assessed property values do not reflect a taxpayer's ability to pay taxes, and most importantly, this type of funding formula would pit one town against another. The state of New Hampshire rightly rejected the donor town system in 2011 and should do so again. Based on that mission, I'm going to assume you probably have the same feelings towards the citizens having their taxes raised to give to private schools and to public citizens. So we already have a history where you have spoken out as a board and you're part of a coalition that does not believe in taxing our citizens to take those monies and give them to schooling that is not directly for our local public schools. So based on what's happening in Wolfeboro, if these universal school vouchers go through, and if the bill for universal vouchers, but also a second LSR, which the language, that's a legislative service request by Mr. Glenn Cordelli on there, is to establish a local education freedom account program. So that would be for local school vouchers. Local school vouchers, as we already said, they're paid by the Education Trust Fund right now. The Education Trust Fund assumes that 11% of those dollars in the Education Trust Fund come from our statewide education property taxes. So 11% comes from SWEPT. So we are technically being added into the Education Trust Fund that is giving these school vouchers out. It's about 27 million. This year we learned that we're going to be slighted and shorted about 27 million for our special education. So we basically robbed our Education Trust Fund away from special education, and we gave the money to school vouchers. Now our local property taxes will be paying the shortfall of our special education. So as these are introduced, the reason why this warrant article is proposed, if our taxes are taken from us for these school vouchers, there are 3 areas where we are currently not following state law. One is RSA 91A. If our money is taken and given to the state through SWEP funds, we have no recourse if they then hand the money over to what's called the Children's Scholarship Fund, who is overseeing these school vouchers. So we, as a state, are not handling our own school vouchers, these education freedom accounts. The money is going to New York City through this Children's Scholarship Fund. New York City is sending the money down to Florida, and Florida is handing the money out to families. We have no right to audit our own money. The other problem with these school vouchers is we have, and I put on the warrant article, Article 6 and Article 83, because they are 2 articles that directly deal with how our public funds are handed out for schooling. Under Article 6 and under Article 83, there are 2 very important clauses. Under Article 6, it says, "But no person shall ever be compelled to pay towards the support of schools of any sect or denomination." Currently, last year, we paid 45 school vouchers. 41 of them were paid to a Christian school not in our own town. That is on the reports for adequate education. What came out of the state budget for adequate education, we paid 45 school vouchers. 4 of them went to Brewster Academy. Brewster Academy has since said they would not honor any more EFAs because it was just 4 for them. However, if this goes to universal school vouchers, there are about 70 day students at Brewster Academy. That tax burden will be put on the citizens of Wolfeboro for those 70 students. That is almost $1 million a year. Just right there, paying for private schools for citizens who can already afford to send their children to these schools. Again, I am not against private schools. I think Brewster Academy does a lovely job in our town, being part of our town, being inclusive, being part of the nonprofits. This warrant article is simply saying if the state does garner our taxes, does levy our taxes for private vouchers, that we will not hand the money over unless they comply with state law saying we have the right to know where our funds are going and that they will comply with the two articles, Article 6 and Article 83 of our New Hampshire Constitution. So it's just reaffirming our constitutional rights. Any questions?
Board member, anybody have any questions or concerns?
Just one.
Okay, go ahead.
Bobby, thanks for this. You mentioned last year that that monies were provided to I'll say, your words, a Christian school.
Yes.
Was there a court challenge?
There is not a court challenge because right now we do not have our own. Well, originally there was a court challenge with the American Federation of Teachers. AFT New Hampshire did sue against these vouchers. Deb House sued. And it was found because the payments were not going directly to the school. They were going to New York City, funneled through Florida, and then to the parents, and then the parents were given the voucher to pay the school. So, but we cannot audit. So for example, on the spreadsheet that Kate Baker-Demers, who runs the Children's Scholarship Fund, on her schedule, she has showing that EFA payments of 104 students at the local Christian Academy, they gave EFAs for 104 students. However, in last year's numbers, it only showed 68 students there. We have no right to audit that. Wouldn't you think we would want to be able to audit why we gave 104 vouchers, but yet there's only yet they're reporting 68 students?
Go ahead. So I just want to follow up. You're saying that if a 91A request is made asking where those monies have gone, the answer that has been received is what?
No.
And you have a document from somebody that said, well, somebody has a document.
Yes, no, they did a pseudo audit in the spring. They finally gave.
Who's they?
The state. So,
Okay.
sorry, I apologize.
No, I just make it as a.
There was finally, after pushback in the legislature, Frank Eldeblatt, the commissioner, finally allowed 25 students to be audited in this EFA program. Of the 25 students, over a quarter of them had errors, including one family receiving $19,000 instead of the $4,100. There was also, I believe, a California student, a New Jersey student, a Massachusetts student. So what they do, the Children's Scholarship Fund does, is they assign an ID number that goes to the state, and then the state gives them money for that ID number. We don't know who the student is.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So a 91A request.
Yes.
Asking for where the money has gone, the answer has come back to whom in the form of no? Who got the no answer?
The Commissioner of Education, Frank Eldeblatt.
Said no to the request?
Yes.
Okay. And that was not challenged?
That was challenged, and they are proceeding with a small, they're saying they're proceeding with a small audit.
So challenged in a court or challenged back to the commissioner?
Challenged in a court.
Challenged in the court, and the challenge, I'm not trying to get into the
The court said they didn't have standing.
What was the challenge? That it was?
The court said that there was no standing by the American Federation of Teachers.
Do you have the number of the case number?
I don't. I can get it.
Would you?
For
Okay,
you, though.
that might make it easier for us to.
However, you're talking about apples and oranges here. That money right now is not considered our money. That's the money coming from liquor stores, business taxes. Used to come from interest and dividends taxes, which has now been taken out, and that interest and dividends tax actually is going to be passed on to the taxpayers, which will again increase our adequate education burden, the amount that we're going to be charged through SWEP funds.
I don't want to dispute whether we do. I would like to know, as Linda asked, I'd like to know the filing of the case that was put before a court.
Absolutely.
Because that will, I think people are going to say, well, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. Freedom of information, 91A, If I can't get it, I want to know who said I can't have it. I want to know where it went in the court system, and I want to know where it is in the court system.
I'll be happy to get you that
That would
case.
be, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, Deb House
Definitely would.
did sue the American, the AFT New Hampshire did sue with Deb House, and it was deemed she had no standing.
Okay, that's important because if we get questions,
we want to answer.
Yes.
We need to have answers.
Absolutely.
So that
and
would
again, right now, this warrant article doesn't mean anything because they're not technically collecting our taxes through SWEPT for the school vouchers. So as of right now, this wouldn't matter. However, if this universal school vouchers goes through and local school vouchers goes through based on Mr. Glenn Cordelli's sponsored bills, then the taxation will be direct. So we just need, as citizens, to know that our state is following our state constitution and our state laws.
Got it.
Okay. Board members, anybody else have any questions? Okay. The other question I have for board members, we have an option to do nothing or to either recommend or not recommend. Does the board have a preference here?
Would we consider this a money warrant article?
Well, as she said, right now, there's no money coming out of the town. What would happen in the future.
In the future,
if
if
a
the
universal comes up.
Yes, if the state gives you a SWEPT bill, right now, I think last year it was $1.12 was our SWEPT adequacy aid that we needed to pay per thousand. We were at $1.12. I think it went from $1.22 down to $1.12 because the valuation went up. We went up to $4 billion in our town. They equalize value changes each year. And in that, we right now keep those funds. But as of March 6th, like I stated, when you guys had our representatives come before you and all of you agreed that it was problematic that our funds would go into a big pot. If these universal school vouchers pass, the 11% we're already paying is going to grow.
And I understand that it is in the future. The question here is, and what I think, Paul, is there any financial burden this year? And there is not. Has not passed. It's in the works.
In the works.
And this is a warrant article if the voters learn about it.
It's a preemptive protection of a bill that our current representatives and the current dominant ideology in the State House is stating they want to pass.
Okay.
So this has support in the state level that could come back on us.
So Linda, sometimes I believe we need to be proactive. We have supported the coalition of donor states in donor towns in the state before. So I wouldn't have an issue if we chose to recommend this petition warrant article. I would like to know how the rest of the board feels.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out too, whether we want to recommend. Usually we do not recommend a warrant article one way or another if there isn't some kind of financial burden. And that's why I kept on saying to you, when is it? We have supported other programs that are...
Well, there is a financial burden. Right now, our financial burden, you just, earlier this evening, you just approved the weekly manifest that included a payment to the schools. That payment comes out of taxes you collected through SWEPT funds that you then are now paying the schools. So SWEPT funds
But I thought I heard you say that none of the town's money was going for these vouchers at this particular time.
Technically, 11% of the education trust fund is SWEPT funds. So it just means, did you take that 11% from the citizens or from the liquor store?
Yeah, and that's a difference. That is
So
a difference.
there is a fiscal
If you don't
impact.
drink, you didn't pay it. So I'm just looking, asking the board. Brian would like to recommend it. Brian?
I'm at the point right now where I don't have enough information. I don't know if I didn't get this one in my packet. I don't know if it was included or if we had it earlier. Or,
They were all given to us. And they were all emailed, and we had hard copies. That's what I have here is my hard copy, and that's why I called her Roberta.
okay.
Because that's
Mine's
how,
on here.
how it came to me.
I might have it on an email, but I didn't get it. Anyway, so
I feel like
I guess
Pat's scolding me.
my point is that, so this is the first time I'm hearing it, and I'm hearing Bobby's side of it here and stuff. I feel to make a decision if we're going to recommend or not recommend, I would want more information. I know we asked for some case information that you're going to provide for us. And I don't know if it would be prudent to invite the our reps that are involved with this too on their end of it, on the education end of it in the state legislature to comment on it too and stuff before I make a decision is just kind of my thought on it anyway.
We do need to post the warrant by this coming Monday.
Our SWEP funds last year were $5 million.
So.
And I understand this is going to go on regardless anyway because it's a petition warrant article. So I guess that being said, my position would be to not put a recommendation one way or the other on it right now.
One school in our town has a potential of increasing our tax burden over $1 million. One school.
Anybody else have any comment on what they want to do? Dave, do you?
I'm on Brad's side on this.
Okay, Dave. Paul?
Excuse me? I'm sorry, what did you say?
Do you want to take a stance on this?
Yeah, thank you for that, Brian, I appreciate it. Where's these data that tell us that money's going to Florida? Where's all that?
So our money goes to a program called the Children's Scholarship Fund. You can go right on their website, and then the Children's Scholarship Fund uses a financial institute in Florida called Class Wallet, and that is how they channel the money to the people in the Education Freedom Account
So the reason
program.
I asked that, Bobby, is I'm just trying to draw a straight line between a taxpayer's taxes and a straight line to that route that you're saying goes to Florida.
That's what the warrant article is, to draw the straight line that we can audit our funds.
So the answer is right now, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but the answer is right now, there is or is not a straight line there that we can certify that actually exists.
There is not a straight line right now.
There's not. Okay.
The straight line goes to New York through the Children's Scholarship Fund run by Kate Baker Deemers.
And we can draw a straight line to New York.
Yes, we can. Children's Scholarship Fund through their 990s.
So we can say our payments, taxpayers' payments from Wolfeboro
Yes.
are getting put in an envelope and sent to New York, and we have documented evidence of that?
Well, we can't because the way the Education Trust Fund is handled is some of the money comes from the liquor store, some comes from business taxes, 11% comes from the SWEP taxes. So you could essentially say hold on, I'll get the amount that Wolfeboro paid was credited for last year. Let me see. Wolfeboro had 45 Education Freedom accounts, and the state funds that were given were $206,754.
And did anyone, other than the town of Wolfeboro here, did anyone in the school system, school board, did anybody, say we have an objection to this?
Well, I think people are starting to object over Frank Eldeblutt coming out a couple weeks ago, taking away our special education, our catastrophic special education. That's going to cost the local taxpayers for our school system a little bit over $300,000.
I'll stipulate your numbers. My question was more direct than what could happen. My question is what did happen. Did anyone at the school board, did anyone in the school system raise their hand and say, this is wrong? Did anybody do that?
Well, I think there are thousands of people saying it's wrong. Just last week alone, I think it was, the numbers were like 710 agreed with Universal, vouchers, and it was something like 2,000 people wrote in to disagree.
Let me, one more time, let me try to restate my question. The question wasn't the thousands of people, it was the question is, did our school board say this is wrong?
Well, I don't think our school board gets political at their school board meetings. I attend their school board meetings, but I don't think they get political, just as a lot of times
Well,
your
that's
board
what you're
doesn't get
asking us to be right now, is to be political, because this is
Well, no,
what
I'm
that-
asking you to,
And so I look
our
at-
town is responsible for levying the taxes and handing the taxes over. And based on your meeting in March and the fact that...
Wait a second, let me finish. I've heard all that. I'm looking at yours. You're saying to see if the voters will prohibit the collection. That means we, if we support this, are willing to go to court to spend their money, to not send our money to the state. That's what this says. And so that is where I think I have the biggest problem. I do not like the voucher. I do not think that that's the way to go. I don't know that I can recommend to the voter that it is in the best interests of the town to file a lawsuit against the state and not send her money.
Is it in the best interest of the town to pay an extra $1 million?
I'm not finished with my statement. I want to give my statement to the public, and that's what it is. And I can't, from what I know and the information, feel comfortable recommending that to the voter. So that is where I am. I believe that it's in terms of what it's meant to be. I support that, but that is the line that I have the problem with. So I would not recommend, and that's the reason why. If I knew more about that, and I just don't know if it's in the best interest, because I don't know where all these things are going at this particular time.
Two questions.
Yep.
One, I don't think that it necessarily says we have to have a lawsuit. And being a petition warrant article, I don't think we necessarily have to do exactly what it says. I think we can see from it what the pulse of the public would be and what the public thinks about the voucher system and Wolfeboro being a donor town and the ability for us to see where our tax dollars go. I don't think it requires us to file a lawsuit.
It says, see if the town will prohibit the collection and the spending of town. If you're going to say, no, we are not going to do that.
That's only if they
You're
don't...
going to have to defend yourself against the state when you don't do it. That's what I'm saying. And that is the piece that I have problems recommending to the voters. The other parts I don't, but that part is saying that they're telling us that we need to stand up and not send it, and I don't think I have enough information.
And you'd be assuming that the state would challenge us in court about that.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly why. That's the only thing I have a problem with here. Is
So if the state knowingly breaks state RSA 91A and knowingly breaks Article 6 and Article 83 of the Constitution, you're saying that that's okay?
I'm saying I cannot recommend this to the voters with that line in there, okay? That's what I'm saying. You don't have to like it or anything else. That's my reason. Because what we're talking about now is whether we recommend or not recommend to the voters. How I vote may be very different than whether I would recommend to the voters, and that's why I don't feel, as a selectman, that I would want to recommend on this petition warrant article.
One more.
Yep, Paul.
So I come away from this, and I'm pushing a little here. I asked direct questions. Has the town of Wolfeboro, the Kingswood School Board, raised their hand and said wrong? And your answer was they don't get in the middle of political fistfights.
I didn't put this on their warrant because I felt that this was a town statewide education property taxes, whereas the school board has a separate budget It's our town that does the bidding of levying our taxes, collecting our taxes, and potentially handing them to the state. The school won't be doing that. The school actually has you collect their taxes and give them taxes.
So if I understand the
Give them the
process, and I
payments.
may be dead nuts wrong, which I normally am.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
If I understand the way it works, is we get a bill.
Mm-hmm.
We get a bill from the county.
Yes,
We get a bill from the schools.
And we get a bill from the state.
yes,
We get a bill from the state.
yes,
So that's how it works.
yes.
I don't recall, and I don't recall when I was prior to and now here again, that we had an opportunity to do anything about that. If the warrant article you're proposing is we should withhold sending money to the state, because that's what I think the intent here is, my opinion on that would be that will get us in the middle of a court case. And I'm not sure that's the right thing for us to do.
Well, on March,
However,
on March
if
6th.
I could finish.
Yep.
If this, and frankly, it does sound like something that could happen in the future, not in the present or not in the past. I will tell everybody for the record, I'm very concerned if somebody has said, you do not have the right to access information. That's a problem. And I would like to know the court case that is involved.
So would I.
Because, and I'm not suggesting you're saying this, it can't be hearsay. There either is.
Not hearsay.
I know. There either is or there is not, and there's a court case involved, and I'd like to see it. So I don't want to expose the town to getting into a spec, and to me, I'm going to use a word, may not be the right one. I don't want to get into a speculative fist fight with the state. I think this whole process is a little screwy. I'll be very frank with you, I do. Mm-hmm. And a personal thing is my mom and dad never got a voucher to send me to a parochial school. So end of message on that. But I think the process here is a little bit screwy, and I'm not sure I'm even going to recommend that we support this. I think the voters should understand that they should raise up their head and get a little concerned if that is going on, and they should ask representatives, our local representatives, to come on in and speak up about what they're attempting to accomplish without it being, and I'm not suggesting you wouldn't do this, without it being a political, back and forth. Just tell us what you're planning to do and do it. But I'm not sure that I would say that the town of Wolfeboro is willing to say, we're not sending payments to the state. I don't think we want to advise
to the
people we're
state
going to
is
do that.
different than to New York and Florida.
Well, but
Wherever.
But this is what it's saying. We have to rehold it from
Yep.
the state, and that's what it says here. It doesn't say the other. So
I looked at it a little bit different. I didn't think, and I still don't think, that the state would bring a lawsuit against us. I think the state would look at us and say, listen, wrong, we're demanding our payments.
and we're told by
And then we would be in a situation where we would probably have to relinquish the payments to them. But it might send a message that one town is saying, we want to have some accountability to where our money goes if we're going to be categorized as a donor town. So I don't think we're going to get into a huge lawsuit where it's going to cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But we are with a group that's against us being a donor town. We've
Correct.
taken that,
Correct.
and there's a clear process and a group in doing that. That's really easy to understand, and we've done that.
Okay.
So I need, Brian, are you making a motion to recommend?
It will be a failed motion, but yeah, I would make a motion to recommend this warrant article.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second it for discussion. Does anybody want to make any other discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up a little bit on what Paul had just mentioned. And that is, what's the school board doing? Where do they stand on this? We give them the money. They're the ones we send part to the state and part to the district, but I'd like to know what their feelings I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, I've got one. All those opposed?
No.
No, so it's 1
Thanks, Bobby.
to 4.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will put it on the warrant. Okay,
Linda, just so
Well, it
that I'm
doesn't need a
clear,
motion for that, right?
there will be no recommendation.
no recommendation. Yep, that was what we decided. We didn't want to recommend. All right, the next one is, this is a petition to rescind and abolish the Wolfeboro Police Commission. Is there anybody in the audience or the petitioners here? We don't have anyone
Linda,
here.
could I just speak to this?
Sure, you may.
Just to be clear, the petition came in. Shortly after the petition came in, a change in the language was brought into the town clerk. However, the change in the language did not accompany the signatures. From that point, Pat and I reached out to legal. It was determined that we need to stick with the language that was submitted in the petition and not the amended language that was handed in after the fact. So I would anticipate at the deliberative session, there be a change on the floor based on what occurred from the petitioner coming in to hand that in. But we have not made that change, and we will not.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. Board members, does anybody want to recommend this warrant article? We haven't in the past. I'm hearing no.
I'd say stay the same, don't recommend anything.
Okay. All righty. So the next one, this is a petition to authorize plowing and maintenance of 2 roads, Frank Goodwin Road and Dudley Road. So,
And Linda, I would like to step down from this because I live on Frank Goodwin Road.
okay, sounds good. So, is there a petitioner here?
I'm going to become a citizen because the petitioner happens to be in Florida. The petitioner for this was my wife, who is the president of the HOA for our association. So I will read the warrant article that was crafted. To see if the town of Wolfeboro will vote to authorize the plowing and maintenance of 2 roads, Frank Goodwin Road and Dudley Road, 0.4 miles in total length, due to their frequent use by the residents of Wolfeboro, town vehicles, police vehicles, fire and rescue vehicles, traveling between Old Lakeview Terrace and Forest Road, and access to fire hydrants. Its purpose of the petition is under RSA 231:59A. A municipality may vote to provide snow removal and/or maintenance on private roads if such services are in the public interest. Frank Goodwin Road and Dudley Road are consistently traversed by residents of Wolfeboro, town vehicles, police, fire, rescue vehicles, and we allow access to fire hydrants for Old Lakeview Terrace neighborhood and for the Forest Road area. And maintaining these roads during the winter months ensures public safety, efficient travel, and uninterrupted access to town services, including emergency vehicles. Public use. The roads serve as a critical connection for citizens and employees, reducing travel time and improving accessibility. We regularly have vehicles and have for 40 years that travel from North Main Street through Old Lakeview Terrace, down Frank Goodwin and Dudley Road and out. They're used by Goodhue Boat Company, they're used by municipal trucks, they're used by construction vehicles and the general public. We actually have some neighbors who have put up ring cameras that go off every time cars go by, so we actually have timestamps of multiple vehicles going by. So the public safety, ensuring that these roads will be safe for residents during emergency services and at other times. During 4th of July parade, the entire Lakeview, Ave, Bassett, and Larry Road are shut down for the staging of the parade. At that time, the only way to get traffic through that neighborhood efficiently is through Frank Goodwin and Dudley Road. The Parks and Rec Department also uses Dudley Road, one of the two end roads, for staging and parking during the Granite Man event every year, and our roads are used as a cut-through for that Granite Man event because the road is blocked off on Forest Road due to the race. So this traffic is cordoned off from that area then. And we believe that there are other benefits to the town, one of them being we have the only other signed parking entrance to Sewell Woods Conservation Area in the town. There's one on Clow Road, which is a public road, and our private road allows for citizens to park at the end and enjoy the cross-country skiing and the walking and biking trails in Sewell Woods, including the trails that were built and sponsored by the Single Track Alliance. So because of those benefits to the town, we believe, oh, and there's one other thing. Over back in, I believe it was 2007 or 8, the town of Wolfeboro reassessed our neighborhood when they did a town-wide reassessment. They assessed us as a public road. Both roads, Dudley and Frank Goodwin, were taxed under the code, public roads, and the people in the association were taxed as if they were living on public roads at a higher value. It was later corrected when I talked to an assessor walking through the neighborhood about 7 or 8 years ago and explained to them that we were not public roads. The perception, even by the town at that time and our assessing department, was that we were public roads because we are tarred roads, we are surrounded by other tarred roads, and the general public uses that whole neighborhood to go through, to cut from Old Lakeview Terrace down through to Forest Road. That's what we have.
Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak to this petition warrant article before the board deliberates? Okay, come on up.
My name is Leanne Hendrickson. I'm actually a resident as well, 10 Frank Goodwin Road. I just have some, I guess, questions, concerns. Even though I am a resident and I would directly be impacted in a positive way, I am actually concerned, however, as a taxpayer. So even though I would benefit from this as an association member for that association, I'm looking at the bigger picture, I guess, and I'm more concerned about the impact as a taxpayer and concerned about the precedent that this petition warrant article would set in the future regarding all private roads and what impact that would lead to our operating budget and how that would hit our pockets as taxpayers if all associations for private roads came forth asking for the town to flip the bill for maintenance and plowing and culvert repair and any other maintenance or any other work, I guess, that would be needed, infrastructure work, plowing, paving. We have underground electric in our association. I'm not sure what other associations have, but we have underground electric. We also have a faulty, we have an issue with one of our vaults. So what does that cover? So I'm not really sure as a taxpayer for ongoing costs, how that's going to impact. I guess that's a huge concern. And I guess the other issue I have is I feel as though that this petition warrant article is actually, if I do say so, I feel as though it's rather a manipulative manner in an attempt to circumvent the betterment assessments statute, because that has been going on with the board of directors and the association members and discussion. And I just feel it's a way to circumvent that. So that's a little bit of history with regards to that. The other thing that I have some questions. I looked at the RSA, because when I looked at the warrant article, it says to vote and authorize the maintenance and plowing of 2 roads, but then when you go, it references 23159A, but when you go to read, now I can't find it. Oh my gosh, I think I left it. So when you reference the RSA, it says that a town may raise and appropriate, the selectmen may expend money for the repair of a Class 6 highway or private way which has been declared an emergency lane. Our road hasn't been declared an emergency lane, so I don't understand how this can move forward if the road hasn't been. These are just rhetorical questions. You don't have to answer them. I'm just throwing them out there as food for thought. The other thing that I don't understand is we have 2 roads that have been identified in the petition warrant article, Frank Goodwin Road and Dudley Road. Dudley Road is a platted road by the planning board. Frank Goodwin Road is not. Our association was actually platted Wigan Road and Dudley Road. Frank Goodwin Road was named, somehow was created a road. I don't have the history. We have a 26-foot easement that's recorded at the registry, and somehow the road, there's a portion of road that all of a sudden was created and it got named Frank Goodwin. So that's another question I have. I don't understand how you can have a petition warrant, or you can recommend, I should say, you can have a petition warrant article, anybody can. I don't know how you can recommend to go to warrant, to put this on the warrant when you don't even have, one of the roads that's on there isn't even a platted road by the town. So that's another concern that should not be overlooked. The other issue I have is that the wording of the petition warrant article also states that it's a vital cut through between Old Lakeview and Forest. If anybody knows that neighborhood, it's really not a cut through. You have to go Old Lakeview to Larry to Frank Goodwin to Dudley to Forest. So not really sure how that benefits emergency vehicles to cut through 3 to 4 roads to get to Forest. Not really sure. Personally, if myself or my family was in an emergency, I would hope to God that this town would not use those roads and would just take a more direct route. So the other thing too is I understand that Brian Deshays said that it's used by where I don't know, something about, he made some type of comment about Dudley Road being the access point to Sewell Woods and et cetera, but he also put signs up at both ends of our roads stating that our association is only for association members only. And those signs can be viewed at any point in time. I have a photo on my phone. So even though he says it's, you know, the town residents and blah, 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 they're not welcome. They're not welcome in our neighborhood by the board of directors. So I think it's just a tactic that they're trying to get this passed. And I think that, again, it's manipulation, it's trying to get signatures, and the words that are used in this warrant article, they're not using all the language of the RSA. They also do not include all of the language in the purpose of the petition where it says the public welfare down in, I believe, it says, if such services are in the public interest, second line. But in subparagraph 2, it says, passable by emergency vehicles is supported by an identified public welfare or safety interest which surpasses or differs from any private benefits to landowners abutting such lane. So I feel as though it's the burden of the petitioner to prove what is the petitioner needs to show that it surpasses or differs from any private benefit to the landowners. And I don't feel that this surpasses. So I just feel that this is riddled with holes, and I don't think it should be recommended by the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience? No. Anybody else? And we're not going to have an argument between that. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak? Okay, you can have another turn.
So the state doesn't require that the roads be platted to use this RSA. That's one. Another thing would be that if there were in a emergency situation on another road, this road can be used as a cut through by vehicles. We have seen fire trucks and ambulance go through the neighborhood and not stop in the neighborhood. We have 2 fire hydrants, one that can be accessed for use to put out fires by fire on Larry Road, and another hydrant that can be used for the end of Forest Road. We have had the hydrant maintained by the water department. We also have a vault that was installed by our electric department on Frank Goodwin Road in order to supply electricity to a person on Frank Goodwin Road, just for their purpose. We have every house on Frank Goodwin Road is numbered, has a mailbox, gets mail, and pays taxes based on Frank Goodwin Road. So if Frank Goodwin Road doesn't exist, if it's Wigan Road, then I don't understand how it's labeled by mail, labeled on all the town tax cards, and have water service and electric service to addresses on Frank Goodwin Road. So that makes it kind of a ghost road. It doesn't really exist. The benefit to the general public is that they use the road on a regular basis. The signs that went up during COVID because our road was so inundated that people were parking on the street and walking behind houses to get into Sewell Woods because Clow Road was packed and there was no more parking. And then the end of our Dudley Road became packed, and there were families that were concerned about the safety of their children. They came to our board of directors and asked if we could try and curtail a little bit of the traffic on the road. But there are people that park from the community on the end of Dudley Road every single day and walk and use the trails, and we are welcome to people coming in, regardless of the signs that were used during COVID in order to kind of curb the traffic. So I know that in our association, the amount of money that we have spent on that road for maintenance in the last 15 years is probably under $5,000. Our plowing averages between $2,000 to $3,000 a year. For another road in town to use the same RSA, they would have to not be a dead-end dirt road that goes nowhere, that doesn't have any benefit to the general community. So saying that, well, every private road would now be able to do and use that state RSA, no, only if they meet the criteria for the state RSA. An example can be Brackett Road was redone this year. It is a town road. It's a half-mile long. It has 10 houses on it. They spent $40,000 re-graveling and doing drainage on Brackett Road. That's for 1 year. Our association has spent $5,000 in 15 years filling potholes and maintaining our tar roads, which are in okay shape. 50% or more than 50% is in very good shape, and 50% is in okay shape. Our roads are probably in better shape than the whole Berrywood neighborhood was before the town rebuilt it. I don't see our roads needing a rebuild in the future. When it comes to water and electric, that's a moot point, because the RSA does not talk about water, does not talk about electric. The town would not be taking over our water and electric. The road would not be, either of the roads would not become public roads. They would still be private roads. So there is not the cost of taking over. What we looked at was a way to make a road or a set of roads that are used by the general public, that can be used for emergency purposes if there is a reason to, that have access to hydrants for not only our streets but for neighboring streets, and say this might be a good way in order to have the town help and assist an association to maintain these roadways for the betterment or for the good of the whole town of Wolfeboro that uses them, without them taking the burden of taking over the roads as public roads and charging all the homeowners a betterment fee that is beyond their capabilities. I don't think there are many roads in this town that would fit the description that we're using with this RSA. A hammerhead road like the Orchards is not. It doesn't cut through.
Brian, can we say to this position, what is done on other roads really doesn't? We are getting late, so if you can just...
What I'm trying to let people understand is this is not something that is going to happen 50 times in the town of Wolfeboro. There aren't 50 situations like ours. Ours is very, very unique.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to this? Not, I'm going to shut off any public comments or any petitioners. I'd like to ask the board whether they want to release town attorney's opinion on this. Brad, you do, Dave?
Sure.
Town attorneys, Paul?
No objection.
Okay, let me read town attorney's opinion. And we sent the petition. It says, I am confused by the petition regarding Frank Goodwin Road in Dudley. There is a process set forth in RSA 231:59-A, which I have copied below, for the Board of Selectmen to declare a private way an emergency lane. Once that is done, then a warrant article could be submitted to pay for the plowing and the maintenance work, and or it could be included as part of the operating budget. This warrant article appears to try to circumvent the Board of Selectmen's authority and eliminate the appropriate public hearing process described. And that, and Jim, do you have that warrant, that statute in the presentation or not?
Yeah, I have a few items.
Okay, that
I'm not
is...
stepping down, I'm just going to the washroom.
Okay.
The statute is up.
Okay, so as you can see, and I'm going to send, I've got a packet here, and I'll give it to everybody. The first one is the statute itself. Under number 1, second line, it says declare an emergency lane under the number 2 below. And so number 2 below says no expenditure shall be made under paragraph 1 unless the selectman, following a public hearing, declares the relevant Class 6 highway, private way, or portion thereof as an emergency lane, and make written findings recorded in minutes of the meeting that the public need for keeping such lane passable by emergency vehicle is supported by an identified public welfare or safety interest which surpasses or is different from any private benefit to the landowner abutting such lane. And so that's what the town attorney is saying is we need, based on state statute, to hold a public hearing. And I went to I went to the Knowing Your Territory, and that book, I've lost it, states that we have authority to do what the state allows us to do by RSA. And the RSA is this one that says we'd have to make it an emergency way. We also, out of a hard road to travel, is that the name of it? Okay. An emergency lane, and it's talking about it says a municipal highway fund can be spent only on a Class 6 or 5 highway, RSA 231:59. However, in 1994, the state legislature recognized a public safety need to keep a Class 6 road and a private way passable for emergency vehicles without requiring the municipality to reclassify or accept them as Class 5 roads with all maintenance and liability. The accompanying maintenance road. Okay. RSA 231:59-I allows a municipality to spend highway funds to keep the Class 6 highway, a private road passable by fire, equipment, and rescue and other emergency vehicle, but only if the selectman, after a public hearing, declares the relevant road as an emergency lane. Okay, and then it goes on in the same thing, limited authority to maintain a Class 6 road or a private road granted under RSA 231:59-A, repairing culverts, removing brush, reflects the legislature's intent not to provide municipalities with a means to circumvent the normal procedure required for accepting and maintaining a road with the accompanying liability responsibility. And that's exactly what this is doing. So in order for us to spend town funds, which this is asking to do in plowing, we would have to first follow 231:59-A, which is not what is in this petition warrant article, which is the problem that I see here. I also provided in the packet I handed out to you. The next one is a map from our GES mapping program, and you can see if somebody's coming down Lakeview Drive, that they can just go straight out to Forest Road. And I always thought that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line, which you can see there. Then I blew that same map up a little more, and then there was this faint line connecting Wiggins Road, Franklin Goodwin Road down to Dudley. So then I decided that I would go to the Registry of Deeds, and I got a 1970 plot plan, an approved plot plan by the Board of Selectmen that was recorded in the Registry of Deeds on Book 18, page 74, and it shows that squiggly space from, at that point, Wiggins Road down to Dudley Road, no name. So I went on, and I was able to find the last map there, which is for 500 Forest Road, and it is the water line easement. And if you look, it says a 25-foot easement connecting Dudley and Wiggins Road. I have not been able to find any document that says that that is a road. This is an easement. They may have built it as a road and everything else, but it has not been accepted by the planning board as a private way. I could find no documents that stated that. So I just wanted to give you all the copy of the documents that I was able to find. That document was recorded, the water easement, on Book 93 on page 55. So that's what I was able to find in my attempt to try to figure out whether that was a road or whether it is an easement. And as far as I can tell, it is an easement. It's never been accepted as a road. I don't know how the name got on it. I really was hoping that I could find some more information on it. So.
Can I speak?
No, I closed it. Mm-mm.
No more answers?
No, we're contemplating and deliberating.
Okay.
All right. Brad.
Yes, thanks. You covered a lot of the notes I had written down here, so I apologize if I repeat some of them. I'm kind of scattered here. Reading through the proposed article presented to us under my petition, ask the vote to authorize the plowing and maintenance of the two roads. And you go back through all these documents which you just referenced, the stuff, this emergency lanes, the procedure, actually before the procedure, you read part of it already. Municipal highways can spend money only on class 4 and 5 highways. However, 94 legislation recognized the public need for class 6 roads and private ways to be passed for emergency vehicles without requiring to be reclassified. And to also allow the maintenance. So then you look a little further, talks about the maintenance part of a road is declared an emergency lane. The municipality may then expend highway funds to remove brush, repair washouts or culverts, or do other work deemed necessary to render such way passable. So if something happened to the roads in there, they were washed out with one of our major storms, something, the culverts got washed out, it would be our responsibility at that time to go in there and do those repairs too. We're not talking just about than people would think. And I agree with you, you're going out Old Lakeview Terrace now, to say this is another benefit to the town for access out through there and stuff, you're absolutely right. Going straight out Lakeview Terrace to Forest Road is the straightest, easiest way to get to Forest Road, not to wind down through these other roads, through Larry Road, Bassett Road, Frank Goodwin, and Dudley. So, and in some of the conversation we've heard here about people using it to access the trail systems out there, these are private roads now. They have the option of posting them as such. So it's at their discretion that they're allowing people to go in there and utilize the cross-country trails for hiking in the summer, skiing in the winter, and all the recreation that could go on that. So, and I also heard a comment about they've spent $15,000 in maintenance over a period of time, which kind of tells me that the roads would be susceptible to damage during a major storm or something like that. If the culverts haven't been.
No, Brian, stop. You're out of order.
So,
Then you can go.
Because it's 5,000 in 15 years, don't say $15,000.
Sorry.
That's not correct.
that's what I heard you say. Okay, I'll rephrase it. Even to spend 5,000 in 15 years, even, makes my argument even a little bit better because it shows that there hasn't been maintenance performed on that road, which makes it susceptible to damage from storms and having that, which I just talked about, if we have to get into culverts and ditch lines and washouts to be able to keep the emergency vehicles accessible in there. So for a lot of those reasons there, I would have a problem recommending this warrant this article to the voters.
Dave?
Yeah. The sheet that we got on emergency lanes and stuff, one of the things in here, the first sentence, in order to declare an emergency lane, the selectmen must hold a public hearing. We haven't done that. So that right away tells me that this isn't necessary. And the information that we got tonight also says that. You have to declare an emergency way. And then the same with public welfare, safety, interest, and so forth. And then I got to follow up with that with what Brad has already said, that it seems like this is a way to circumvent our requirements on accepting roads. So I'm not in favor.
Paul?
Thank you, Linda. I took the tack of looking at the RSA that was referenced. And my first question to Jim that I sent him the other day, and the question was, has there been any concern raised by our emergency operations team, highway department, or fire and rescue as to the ability of vehicles to access either Dudley or Frank Goodwin during inclement periods? I'm looking at you.
You want me to answer that?
Yes?
No.
No. And I think I've got the answer to my question. If I understand correctly, the road is still posted as an association road, okay, so it kind of moots the question in two directions. One, it says the town conducted any traffic flow studies. Well, if it's private property, we can't go on it. We couldn't have done anything about that. And so but it was mentioned, and I'm not challenging you, Brian, it was mentioned that those signs were put up during COVID, but they're still there. Okay, they're still there, which basically those signs are saying this is private association land. And I understand that part very well. Does the town have any infrastructure concerns, either raised by landowners or by town departments about these roads? I'm going to pitch that one over to you, Jim.
No.
Okay. Has there been any petitions in the past decade for the town to assume responsibility for these roads?
The town clerk has not found any.
Has there been any meetings with the town concerning these roads and the possibility of the town taking over these roads? And if there was, what was presented?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Those are about all of the questions I had, and I will just state I personally had a whole bunch of concerns about town water running onto a private road, and I guess a year or two ago, before I joined this board again, rejoined, I was aware that we were doing work on private roads, and for those people who know me, private property is private property, not town property. And what I learned on the issue that I brought forward was we had a drainage issue that drained onto Whitegate, and we created a real mess down there and had to go onto private property. And I think it was over. We were very concerned about moving into private property. The reason I bring that up is, as I vision this, we are being asked to move into private property to conduct plowing operations and other things that are done, that are wanted to be done. And it's not clear to me that that's the right thing for us to do, unless the road is assumed, or unless the town decides, hey, we should just take it over. We should. At that point, I think if the town showed up and said, I think I want to take over your road because I want to do something else, I think we better all understand what our rights and options are, easements being important. Then the last one is this 60-foot swath, which I can't weigh into, but it sounds like there's a little unclarity as to where the road ends and begins, and to whether we have a road here or whether we have a road segment or a segment that is simply an easement for a water line. I'm not in a position to recommend this.
Yeah, I'll go back with you, and I think the big issue here is they are asking us to spend public funds on private property, and the road will never become town property. It still will be that private property. And what I was looking for earlier, and it's from knowing the territory, and it's talking local government receives its authority from the state. And it says towns and city receive their authority from the state, and that is what the 231:95A is. That's how we're to do it. That's the authority that we have been given. I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen put on this warrant not recommended.
Second.
Okay, I made the motion, and Dave seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Oppose? So it'll go on 4-0 not to recommend. Okay. Next item on the agenda is next item is the town report. And I have not received, I met with Amy, and we talked about topics that she should include, and she was going to write a draft. I have not seen any draft at all. Jim, do you know if there's anything else in terms of this town report?
No, I think that's it, Linda. She was out of the office this afternoon, so.
Okay, so I heard from Dave a motion to table.
Yeah.
Second. And I have a second from Brad. Any further discussion?
Yeah, me. I just have a question. Do we know when the pencils down date is that we have to have this thing locked up and ready to go?
Well, she's the one who does that.
But we have to publish it, so do we know?
She knows.
But we don't know. Can we get a pencils down date?
She's the one who has to
All
write
right.
the draft.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's usually after the deliberative
After?
session.
Okay. But we still need to see some. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
All righty. Next item on the agenda, I need a motion to go into the Libby
We
trustees
didn't
meeting.
vote on the motion to table.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All righty. Now I need a motion.
Motion to go into Libby trustee meeting
Okay.
as Libby trustees.
Okay, Paul, and did I hear a second? Brian? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. So, first item under the Libby trustees, the Heritage Commission update on the Libby Museum.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
I'm Maggie Steer. The Heritage Commission Libby Committee, HCLC, is going to give you a three-part update on the work that we've done. First me, then Dave Bolduc, then Howard Lowe. I just want to say that as we've begun this project and delved into all the materials that exist for us to draw from, the Friends of the Libby Museum have done an awful lot of work over the past several years, and we are the beneficiaries of all those studies and materials. So I want to acknowledge that. Very helpful.
It's nice to hear, Maggie.
Thank you. As the people who were talking about the community center did, we want to give you a little bit of our project experience. So I ran the Libby for 2 summers in the mid-1970s, right out of college, and then went on to a 30-year career in museums, from the Shelburne Museum to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts,
the Hood Museum at Dartmouth, and just before COVID, as Development Director and Interim Director at Canterbury Shaker Village. I also have about 20 years' experience with the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, the statewide preservation nonprofit, helping people save historic buildings. We often assist with town-owned buildings and small museums. So after the Heritage Commission offered to help the Libby trustees, they accepted us with the letter of agreement dated December 4th, 2024, outlining 5 things. Form a subcommittee to work on the Libby Museum project. Done. I introduced you to my colleagues. To work with the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance. Because I work there and on the Heritage Commission, I'm coordinating this, and it's underway. The Alliance's 2024 7 to Save list included the Libby, and that announcement and video sparked this partnership. To explore and develop possible strategies to move forward to address the Libby Museum building and operating structure. Dave is taking the lead on the building issues and construction recommendations and process. I'm taking the lead on operational structure with Howard, with the goal of having a private, nonprofit, or other partnership eventually running the museum. Number 4, to gather citizens' views on the future of the Libby Museum. We've begun outlining how we'll carry out that public process, which will take place probably this spring and summer, and to assist with funding through grants and fundraising. One of the first things we did was to begin coordinating the moving of the collection out of the building. Based on the Turner report, which was received at the end of December, we were really happy to see that the building was safe to enter. So we turned to Museum and Collector Resource of Concord, Mass., who had prepared an estimate for the Friends of the Libby. The town, as you know, agreed to have them update their previous estimates at a small cost. And we met with their representative, Martha Cummings, last Friday in the museum to review parameters and give her a better look at the collection. We're speaking again tomorrow about the timeline, and preliminary estimates are the move will likely take place this summer or fall. We're exploring storage locations now. In our discussions with the Friends of the Libby, they offered to cover half the packing and moving costs up to $30,000, and I believe you received that offer from them in writing this week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we did. We got so the public knows we got a formal letter from them.
Good.
Stating that.
It also provided the opportunity to discuss the request from the Boat Museum of the loan of the dugout canoes from Russ Pond. We have received copies of loan forms from the Boat Museum. Insurance and moving costs are yet to be negotiated, and we'll bring that to you for final approval. I've also begun consulting with other museum professionals to discuss mission and vision statements, board and staff structure, and a 3 to 5 year strategic plan and related budget, all things required by major funders. Accepting this framework relates closely to determining the solutions for repairing and renovating the museum building, such as hours or months of operation and kinds of collections and that sort of thing. So I'll be coordinating with Dave's work and that construction committee. So next up is Dave Bolduc.
Good evening. Dave Bolduc, retired general contractor with a major emphasis of our business being restoration work on the residential end of the market. So this building is a little bit bigger than what we're used to dealing with, but we did our share of rot repair work and foundation failures. Currently the chair of the Heritage Commission, and like probably most of you, I had the opportunity to review the final report, final Turner report. It answered a few things. It raised a few more questions, but it along with other earlier reports, reported the major problems being rotten and compromised wood wall structures. And everybody agrees with that. And I think if you read through the article, the wall and the wall rot is the Achilles heel of that building right now. In addition, there are mold and moisture intrusion issues. There's lack of ventilation. There's inadequate foundation support for the structure. And there's stormwater diversion, which needs to happen to, there are others if you want to, but those to me are the major ones.
It's enough.
But, so, I think right now, it's way too early to suggest a course of action. We have the Turner report. We have a partnership with New Hampshire Preservation Alliance to start brainstorming possible solutions. I look forward to the opportunity of working with them, maybe cross-referencing with Turner, and there's a wonderful report, much more thorough than Turner's report that the Friends hired and solicited 2 years ago, the Alba report, which has a much more detailed solution portion that I think we can work with. Their major solution was actually to build this little addition in the back, and everybody, I don't think a lot of people understood, but this addition was really the anchor that would stop this building from being able to move like it does. So there, and the other focus that I really hasn't been addressed by any of the studies, and I don't fully understand why, but I'd like to explore, is why no one has entertained the idea of putting a foundation under it. And I know these are all things that have price tags to them. The trustees has and I'm not trying to suggest that we should turn this into a full-blown. I just want to have the opportunity to explore a lot of the options with professionals that would have much more expertise than I do, and then maybe in a few months come back with you and say, this is what we're proposing, this is the price tag that goes with it, and get some direction from you as to how you feel about what we're doing with the building.
Hi, everyone. I'm Howard Lowe. I'm a member of the Heritage Commission as an alternate, and I'm working with Maggie and Dave on the Libby project. I've been asked to coordinate the public communications in support of the items in the agreement letter that you provided last month. I have a background in historic preservation as a volunteer and a professional background in communications, fundraising, and nonprofit management that I hope will be helpful as we pursue this project. It's a complicated one with many public and private entities involved. But ideally, we'll be able to establish clear and consistent communication for the public, coordinated with the Select Board, the Libby trustees, the Friends of the Libby, and the Heritage Commission. I'll be contacting Amy to arrange to sit down with her and review the material on the town website to make sure that that is consistent. And also contacting the Friends group to talk about their website and ideally providing matching information to what is on the town website. The goal is clear and consistent communication and messaging to help ensure that everyone knows that we are proceeding carefully but with urgency to make this project turn out successfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All righty. Anything else while we're still in the Libby trustees meeting? Hearing none, can I have a motion to return to the Selectmen's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Paul. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is other business. I have one. I would like to inform the public that the Wolfeboro Bay Watershed Management Plan is finished, and there's a link on the town website if you'd like to read that document. Town manager.
Okay, a few items. The warrant is basically at this point set. Hopefully tomorrow afternoon, we will have it on the town website for people to view, including the numbering. With that said, the deliberative session is scheduled for February 4th, right here in Great Hall at 7 p.m. We have done our recording of the warrant articles. I need to check with Wolfeboro Community TV tomorrow, but hopefully we can get that up in the next couple of days, attach that to the website. Also, February 20th, New Hampshire DOT will be holding a Route 28 meeting right here in the Great Hall. There's some documents which we will put onto the website regarding the scope of the meeting, which is scheduled to begin. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. with a presentation to the Board of Selectmen at 6 p.m. and a question-and-answer session at 7 p.m. With that said, the warrant articles that the Board of Selectmen are posting relative to options for Route 28, they're up on the boards here. We will move those down into the common hallways tomorrow, and I believe there's also a set at the library if people would like to see them. And lastly, just so that everybody out there knows, we have come to an agreement with our 2 collective bargaining agreements. Those collective bargaining agreements are on the warrant for 2025. They are 3-year contracts, and we hope that you support them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Committee reports, and I'll start down here with Brian and come this way this time.
So one thing I would like to ask is there any way we could make those 11 by 17s?
I thought the same thing when I saw them.
What size?
Can we make
11 by
them larger?
17?
Yep.
That's not huge, and that would make it so.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we need to put the right warrant articles up there. We made that change.
Yeah. I just had a budget committee meeting and an EDC meeting, and I wanted to apologize to the town of Wolfeboro for my tardiness tonight. My mother had a medical emergency down in Massachusetts. I spent 36 hours straight in a hospital having her have heart tests, neurological tests. She had a bad fall, and she had some rough times. So, so I was 36 hours without sleep, and I was 15 minutes late for the meeting. So my apologies.
Paul?
Okay, thank you. I, like Jim, participated in the last round of the AFSCME conversations with Mr. Senical as well. I think it was a very good discussion on both sides. I really do. It was businesslike. There was no. It was businesslike, and it was very professional, and I was good. We should do that more often. Libby, I had a chance to spend time with Tom and the Friends of the Libby, and thank you very much for your work. And Maggie, thank you for, lassoing everybody together. A lot of work to be done between now and September of next year, or this year. Lots of work to be done. We still owe the voter, I think, a bill of materials of what we're going to do to restore, replace, or do some other things. I, like others, recorded the warrant articles, and I will, since Libby's fresh on our mind, I've asked the voters through that warrant article for permission to appropriate money so that we could brace the building and get the collection out in that order. That probably won't happen until March, obviously, but getting in front of that is probably on, Maggie, your critical path, because if we don't get that started until March, we might find ourselves not making something in front of the voters next year, and I don't think that's going to be palatable. So with that, that's about all I have. Thank you.
Brad?
Yeah, see, last night we had a planning board meeting. We went through and finalized up the warrants that we're going to have on the ballot. So, Jim, you should be able, if you haven't already, you should be able to get how many there are for the numbering system there.
Got
it. We had a Wolfeboro Waters meeting. That was earlier this week, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
Monday or
Yes, no, last week.
last week, okay.
Yep.
Wolfeboro Community TV meeting we had last week, and I've attended a couple of the Budget Committee meetings just last week also. And that was it for me.
Dave?
Yeah, the only thing I had was, as Paul mentioned, the union negotiations were finalized.
Okay. I attended the Wolfeboro Waters Committee meeting, and I will give you some of the key topics. We talked about the Crescent Lake Dam and the amount of water needed in Smith River to support the aquatic species, and the Mitigation and Prevention Committee is working on that. The Wolfeboro Waters Committee talked about water quality in the Route 28 project, and they support the improvements that will take place on Route 28. Will support the drainage and improvements and retention basins on that Route 28 project. A key topic was the amount of salt and sand being used on town roads. Our Public Works Director, Randall, provided the committee with an email explaining his instructions to staff. The town appreciated his reply and understands the fine line between safety and the amount of salt and sand that you'd put on the road. I attended an EDC meeting with Brian. They're looking for, is it April they're going to do the
Yes.
business plan or business meeting to meet and talk to them?
Yeah, we're trying to make it more of a brainstorming social event. They're looking to move it to Trento Restaurant instead of the Great Hall. And the EDC is also looking to try and have some input to the community on the South Main Street rebuild to help spread the word of the warrant articles so that people can understand the vote going forward.
Yeah, and they asked us a lot of questions about about that. I attended a library trustees meeting. You'll probably see an ad in the newspaper. They're looking for an alternate. I attended the Historical Society meeting, and this year is their 100th anniversary. And so we should be seeing some stuff about that. Brian attended 3 budget committee meetings. And we attended the public hearing on the budget, and then we attended the next meeting when they voted on all the warrant articles. So that's what I have. Next is question from the press.
We don't have go-to-meeting, so.
Okay, public input. Is there anybody who'd like to give public input?
Bobby Bedman, since our finance director is still here, I have a couple questions. One first, just for the citizens. When you voted for the capital reserve funds for the rope, you did not give the taxpayers the amount you were releasing?
I don't think we had an amount on there. About 500 or was it? Rope's not.
I'm sorry, which one?
The rope for the Abenaki ski slope.
You just didn't have an amount when you voted for it?
It's under 1,000, I think.
So it's minimal?
Yeah.
I will forward you the
What?
memo. Let me get the memo up right now.
For the rope? No, I thought it was less. Sorry, I thought it was less than.
Okay. I just thought the taxpayers might want to know how much you were releasing.
Sometimes we forget things.
The other thing that I just wanted to talk about is when we're talking about POP, and we had a conversation about POP again tonight being $56,000 short and the revenue coming in at 86% right now. I think that it's really important, again, for the taxpayers to understand that part of that 86% of that revenue is taxpayer money that is coming from the general fund, and we are funding that enterprise account. Also, I'd like to know if a journal entry was made to remove the money that Brewster paid us back, that $105,000, or if that's still sitting in the revenue account. And then the ICE time that's in the revenue account, how much of that revenue is I got in passing that there were 137 unused hours that the taxpayers are paying for. What does that translate in funding that is in that revenue account?
I can tell you about Brewster, that was in a donation account, and I can see the donation account, it coming in and it going out and being zero. So it went into the general fund to pay the general fund back.
So that has now come out of revenue. There's been a journal entry removing that from the revenue?
What do you mean? That we paid the bill, so it paid
We
off.
paid the bill, but there was a journal entry. There was an entry that put the $105,000 from Brewster into revenue at the POP when it was not revenue and should not be listed that way as revenue.
Okay.
So there should have been a journal entry taking that $105 back out of the revenue to pay for the expenditure, the asset for the locker rooms.
So we hired the contractor.
Yes.
As the town of Wolfeboro. We paid the contractor the $105,500, I think it was.
Okay.
From the town's account, and we booked the donation to the revenue account. So when you look at the bottom line, it has an increase in the operating budget of $105,000 because of that donation.
Okay, but that's
It's
not
also
revenue from the
shown-
POP.
It's also shown as an expense on the POP.
To wash it out, but it should not be sitting in a revenue account showing that's revenue for POP. Is that still in there as
Well,
revenue?
I
as
guess
part
the
of the
question is, if
86%?
the expense is in the POP, so must the revenue, and that's where they booked it. So if we don't put the revenue in and we book the expense there, it's going to be short that. It's not.
Was
One
the
washes the other.
105 put as an expense in that enterprise fund?
It's right here.
If I could, I think I may not be representing your words, but let me take a crack at it.
Okay.
You're looking for the accounting transaction, the walk, that says that dollar comes in, bless you, that dollar comes in, how does it get treated?
Yes.
What does the offset? That's a walk, that's an accounting transaction. My understanding, could be wrong again, because normally I am, is that anytime you get a gift, unrestricted or restricted gift, it comes to the town as revenue. The reason it comes to the town as revenue is we can't forecast any of that stuff until it shows up. So you can't just take it in and put it someplace. It comes in as revenue, and then it has to be treated, moved someplace to offset an obligation, an expense, or it just goes into an account, some type of account. So your question, if I understand you correctly, is you want to understand the accounting transaction for that $105,000. Is that a fair?
That is.
You want the walk.
That is.
Debits and
That
credits.
is fair because those locker rooms were outfitted after we told the voters that those locker rooms were going to be leased for 40 years because it wasn't a taxpayer burden to outfit the locker rooms, but we then expended $105,000.
So
We can.
the second part of that is the questions you just asked. The first part is, show me how the money came in, show me where it went, and then your second part of your question, I think, is it's valid.
Yeah,
When I say valid, you can ask whatever
we
your
need
question
to
you
know
want.
where our revenue is coming from. So as part of that 86%, are we showing revenue?
I can tell you from right here.
Okay.
I can show you on page 6 of our monthly report, the revenue coming into Pop Whalen, and then on page 71, I can show it being credited to that account that we had that expense. So it's on both sides.
Okay.
And if you like, you can get these pages and you can see it come in and go. To
That's
that.
right, but are then we zeroing out that revenue when we're talking to the voters to explain to the voters, are we using that 105,000 to tell the voters we raised that revenue for POP? Because that's where we have to be honest with the voters and say, what is that 137 hours the voters, the unused ice time that we're supplementing an enterprise fund? I just think that the voters deserve to understand that that $56,000 that we're down isn't really $56,000. It's $56,000 and 137 hours of ice time.
Sure. Can I, one more time?
Well, sure, yep.
So I would suggest that you write it down, because if it's important, just write it down. We're going to have the auditors coming and visiting with us. I'd like to believe they're unimpeachable in terms of their opinions on things, unless somebody has a different opinion. We can give that to the auditors and say, tell us whether this question, show us the accounting treatment on that question. You might not get an answer for several weeks because the auditors haven't shown
Well,
up
I
yet.
want to support, I obviously want to support the ice rink. I curl there. I believe in
No,
the
I
ice rink.
understand.
It's even part of my ritual of something, a place I enjoy to go. But we have to make sure that the taxpayers understand a significant and large amount of our budget, and where are we supplementing and uplifting an enterprise fund so we can do right to move forward.
So just for me, what I hear on this topic, I hear two questions. Question number one is, show me the accounting treatment. Question number two is, what's the business policies that you're following as to how you actually take credit for those things? Those are two separate questions, and no disrespect, Bobby, but they sometimes overlap each other. So I try to like bust it into ducks and bunnies. Show me the ducks and bunnies on this side, ask us for the way we treated it, and hopefully you'll get the answer that will clarify it for you. And the way I would recommend it get done, ship it to the auditor. They're in the business of explaining this kind of
Well,
stuff.
as a citizen, I'm asking you, could you ask that question of your
If you
auditors,
write it
please?
down.
I absolutely will.
Sure.
And just so you know, I have sent you 10 emails explaining the warrant article and explaining where the numbers come from and the case and the law and everything else. So I'm hoping maybe you guys can go back through all those emails, look at them, and maybe reopen the warrant article for another discussion of recommending or not recommending, now that you'll have all the data to look
you
at slowly.
shifted.
I shifted. I changed my conversation.
I'm still
Sorry.
thinking about that, and then all of a sudden I
Sorry,
realized,
no,
you shifted.
So you have received 10 emails from me. However, I still have a problem sending stuff to Dave. I don't know why. So if someone could forward the emails to Dave, whether it be Jim or one of you, it would be great if you could pass the information on to Dave, please. I don't know why I can't email you. That's it.
And if you want to see my monthly report, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I actually would like to see a full budget book. I can get it from a budget committee member, or I would like to see a full budget book.
If you drive down to my house, I'll give you mine.
Before the deliberative.
I believe there's a copy at the library.
There isn't.
There's a full copy at the library.
Oh, yes.
I think
Okay.
John
And it's
McDonald asked
online.
to have a copy at the library, so there's one up there.
Well, thank you so much.
And it's online.
I know it's online, but I need
Okay.
the
Okay.
book to
There.
flip. You know, it's a little
Yeah.
easier with
Yep.
the book
I
than
got
online.
it. Yep.
Okay.
Is there any
Thank you.
other public input? Seeing none,
With the non-public?
yes, I'd like a motion to go in, and that I heard from you, Dave.
Second.
And I got a second from Brad. Dave, yes. Brad,
Yes.
yes. I'm yes.
Yes,
Paul,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes, yes, yes.
Brian's yes. Okey dokey.
Where